Coming up on Mountain News this morning, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell was in Winchester yesterday to look at the progress of a surprising industry here in the Commonwealth. And just ahead of this year's Derby, Churchill Downs has made some major changes. Plus, a vetoed state pension bill is stirring up controversy in Frankfort.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Good morning, I'm Taylor Upchurch. Today is Wednesday, April 24th. Let's check in with Brandon Robinson for a look at your forecast this morning. Brandon, what can folks expect today?
Not too bad this morning. A little bit of rain overnight, so some wet roads up near Moorhead, I-64, Mountain Parkway areas. So just be careful up that way, but everything is ended for now. Let's go to Jenkins on US 119, US 23 right there at the split, and all quiet there overnight. No rain over in parts of far southeast Kentucky or southwest Virginia. Live pinpoint Doppler radar is nice and quiet this morning. Temperatures in the mid to upper 50s in most locations. A couple of low 50s there toward Harlan, seeing 52. Everybody else kind of right there in that area of fairly decent weather. We're looking at iced coffee to normal coffee on the coffee meter type day, and temperatures will be fairly warm this afternoon. Full forecast in just a few minutes. Taylor.
Thanks, Brandon. A crash in Martin County killed a well-known coach yesterday morning. Since 2013, Tim Rice coached the girls basketball team at Sheldon Clark High School and worked as an in-school suspension teacher. The crash happened on New Route 3. Officials believe Rice hit the back end of a cement truck with his SUV. WYMT's Marianne Fletcher talked with some of his players about the man they all grew to love.
A good coach can change a game. A great coach can change a life.
Like, they've watched him coach, but he meant more than a coach. He was a friend, he was a companion, he was a good person.
Sheldon Clark High School senior Mackenzie Preston says Tim Rice was more than a coach.
Every day, he really did push us. He just wanted the best for us.
Rice died Tuesday morning in a crash involving a cement truck on New Route 3.
Off the court, he's somebody you could go talk to, tell your problems to.
Basketball player Laken Porter says she did not want to believe the heartbreaking news.
Like something like this, happened, and you wouldn't think that it could happen.
The man she and her teammates looked up to, gone.
And he always didn't show his emotions very much, but we all knew that he loved us very much and that he wanted the best for us.
And while he will never be there for a pat on the back,
you never realize how you take life for granted until it's taken away.
Or a high five.
And without him, our team wouldn't have made it as far as we did.
His life, his coaching left a lasting impact.
We'd like to go out on a good note.
In Martin County, Marianne Fletcher, WYMT Mountain News.
The driver of the cement truck was not injured. Police do not believe alcohol or drugs were involved. A Harlan County community is taking the pain of loss and turning it into a force for good. After a fatal fire killed two twins in the Tots community and sent their parents, Dennis Chad Howard and Allison Howard, to a burn unit in Georgia with several burns. Many are coming together to help the family.
Prayers are requested. Chad and Allison both, they got some difficult days ahead of them. They're in very serious condition.
We have links to how you can help the family through this hard time on our website, WYMT.com. And on the last day of the 2019 General Assembly, Kentucky lawmakers passed a bill extending relief for universities and quasi-governmental agencies. House Bill 358 would have let some opt out of Kentucky's pension system and pay off their liabilities. But a veto from Governor Bevin has changed the picture. Some organizations say it's left their financial future questionable. WKYT's Hillary Thornton explains why some are pushing state lawmakers to find a solution as soon as possible.
Eastern Kentucky University President Michael Benson writing an op-ed urging the governor and lawmakers to act quickly on the vetoed House Bill 358. Explaining in that piece that with the new rates for pension obligations set to take effect July 1st, that is estimated at $22.8 million. This all part of a discussion on KET last night. David McFadden explaining why they are begging for a solution and one quickly. as they are in the middle of crafting their upcoming budget.
We're up against the wall. We need that decision point sooner than later. I think that anything beyond June 1st really starts to put us in a very difficult position.
President Benson says that it is, quote, imperative for EKU, other universities, and other quasi-governmental agencies to have the certainty and flexibility that House Bill 358 would provide. That legislation giving these groups another year of relief from the high rates. Then after that year, they could choose to exit the state system and pay their obligation in full or in installments. But Governor Matt Bevin says it would violate the state's moral and legal obligations to its retirees. The Democratic caucus agreeing with the governor's reasoning.
It was going to kick retirees out of the system who've already paid in all that they can.
Meanwhile, Republican leadership unhappy the bill was vetoed. While the governor says the fixes should be doable, they are skeptical.
I think there is a chance that we can't pass anything. I think it was very difficult to pass what we did.
In Richmond, Hillary Thornton, WKYT.
Other organizations facing this dilemma include county health departments, mental health nonprofits, and rape crisis centers. And attorneys for a former state employee say they plan to file a lawsuit against Governor Matt Bevin. The employee was also a former Kentucky 120 United County leader. She claims she was fired from her job with the Department of Labor as retaliation for being involved with the group. The attorneys argue the firing violates her First Amendment rights. And Kentucky received more than $117 million in tobacco settlement money this week. The Attorney General made the announcement yesterday. The settlement is over 2 decades old. Since the first payment in 1999, Kentucky has received more than $2 billion. The money comes from cigarette manufacturers. It's used to support early childhood education, health programs, cancer research, and to help farmers. Walgreens will no longer sell tobacco products to anyone under the age of 21. The retail giant says the new policy goes into effect on September 1st. The move comes weeks after the U.S. Food and Drug Administration criticized Walgreens for selling tobacco to more minors than any other pharmacy chain. The FDA also called for a meeting with Walgreens officials to discuss the matter. And Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell was in Winchester yesterday to look at the progress of the booming industry here in the Commonwealth, hemp. McConnell was joined by Agricultural Commissioner Ryan Quarles for a tour of Jacana, a hemp research campus. So far this year, more than 42,000 acres of hemp has been grown here in Kentucky. That's 3/4 of all hemp production in the U.S. Senator McConnell says he's optimistic hemp will bring in the revenue that tobacco once did.
Now that 99 of 100 counties, somebody's growing hemp. So we've seen the full transition to a bright new future without the health implications that ultimately sunk tobacco.
Agricultural Commissioner Quarles says hemp helped create about 450 jobs across the state. A major case went before the Supreme Court yesterday, a debate on whether the census should be amended to include a question about citizenship. Protesters gathered outside the Supreme Court as justices heard 80 minutes of arguments about the Trump administration's plan to add a citizenship question on the 2020 census. The point of contention is whether the change will negatively impact census accuracy.
The census is the basic statistical backbone of everything that we do as a country, and we can't afford to get it wrong. It might not seem like a big thing to you and me, but a lot of people are concerned, and particularly with this administration, that giving out that information could be used against them.
The High Court is expected to issue a ruling in June. And if you go to Churchill Downs for the Derby this year, you'll notice some changes. One of the most visible updates is the infield gate, which cost $3 million. About 100,000 people will use the new entrance on Derby Day. It has 24 new turnstiles to go through. Track officials say the upgrades are all about the experience.
You want them to sit down, enjoy the day at the races, and then, cash a few tickets along the way. We don't want people waiting in line. We want them to be able to use the restroom. We want them to be able to buy a beer and get in and out of here quickly.
There's also a new starting gate rooftop lounge that will be revealed later this week. It's supposed to have a full view of downtown Louisville and the track. Ahead of this year's Kentucky Derby, Attorney General Andy Beshear wants you to be on the lookout for victims of human trafficking. Major sporting events like the Derby and the Super Bowl tend to be hotbeds for traffickers. Victims often have identical tattoos, branding, and they often do not know where they're staying. If you suspect someone is a victim, contact police immediately. Coming up, if predictions come true, the world's most expensive piece of sports memorabilia will be up for auction later this year.
While most of the day should be dry, get the rain gear back out and put it in the car just in case. I'll track out those rain chances in about 3 minutes.